The Numinous Podcast with Carmen Spaniola.
Hi there, and welcome to the Numinous Podcast, where we have interesting conversations with everyday folks about the mystery of life. And every once in a while, I send you a brief missive, a little dispatch from here on the farm in Syilx Territory, not too far away from a small town known as Summerland, BC. I'm your host, Carmen Spaniola. Everyone I know, myself included, is broke and burnt out. And so it's hard to think through and parse through problems. And problems keep coming up. And so today I thought I would share the cowboy logic, the ranch logic, the words to live by, the guidelines that we've been using on the farm to just conserve brain glucose so that we're actually not having to make as many decisions. We're not ruminating. We're not sort of always in our heads, because problems just keep coming. They just keep coming. So you have to be able to parse through them quickly as they come at you. So in no particular order, here's my cowboy logic that I am using to keep myself functional, moving forward, to keep projects moving forward, etc., etc. In these times. I would say one of the things that we have been saying for years and years is a little bit at a time at the right time. So problems need your attention, but they don't need it constantly. But they do need your attention and your action just a little bit at a time at the right time. Like, you don't have to be always constantly, out in the fields, let's say, but you do have to seed before the ground gets too hot. And there are certain things that if you want them to harvest when it's at their peak, you have to plant them at a certain time. So some problems you can put off, and some problems you just have to give them attention a little bit at a time at the right time. But there's no point in wringing your hands and being like, oh, should I do a little bit now? Should I do a little bit now? Should I do a little bit now? No, you need to do a little bit at a time at the right time to keep the whole cycle moving forward. So what is the little bit, the smallest amount you can do to keep the cycle moving forward, and what's the right time to do it in? And then stop kind of spreading the problem around by thinking about it constantly. Just know when you actually have to leap into action, and you have to down tools on everything else and focus on that. A little bit at a time at the right time. So it's the same with weeding, right? You don't have to be weeding all summer long. What you have to do is you have to be weeding a little bit very early when they're very small. So you do a little bit at a time. You're walking, you're looking at the garlic, whatever. You just pull out those little tiny baby ones, or you take a hoe with you and you don't even bend down. You just scrape them off when they're tiny. You're just doing a little bit of effort, but that's the right time. And then weeds are not a problem. Same kind of thing with mulching. When's it, Anyway, that one I think is one of the best rules to live by in my life. Same with I have to do social media marketing. I don't have to be on social media all the time, but I do have to do a little bit at a time at the right time. So figuring out, when am I going to do a bunch of work, and then when are the right times to publish it? And the right time to publish it is going to be, for me, astrological. I publish podcasts, books, social media posts on the right hour of the right day, the right cosmic time. The rest of the time, I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. I'm down here feeding the horses, and you may not have seen on social media, but there was this mouse that was showing up. I was startled by every morning because somehow it was getting into our feed box. And I was like, how did you get in here? I looked for all the holes. I think it's actually just anyway, not worth getting into, but somehow this mouse was getting in, and it would startle me. It would freak each other out. It would run away as soon as I'd open up the box every morning. And then one time there was another one and another guy. I was like, you guys get out of here. So I knew I had to do something about it. But then one day I came and I opened it up and the mouse ran out, and I went to remove the thing that it was on. It was like a little piece of wool, a little sit-upon, and underneath were baby mice. And I was like, oh my God. So I moved them, and then I didn't see them. And I was like, gosh, I hope they actually survived. Like, I was kind of getting used to them, and baby mice were kind of cute. Anyway, I didn't see them for a few days, and I kept thinking about them. And it's just, this is ridiculous because mice are a problem. Hantavirus, have you heard of it? It's a thing. And also just like the droppings, you can get sick. You can very, very, very sick. So it's not a good idea to develop emotional attachments to mice. But I will say this, that I started to notice a little nest building happening in this like big bag of horse treats that I had. And then what do you know? I opened it up like maybe a week after I moved them. And who's crawling around in there but these 4 cute as fuck little mice. And now I am emotionally attached, and now it's a whole thing to have live traps to try to trap them all together at the same time. And then we have to like drive like 5 kilometers or 2 miles or whatever away because they'll come back if you do it any closer. Now it's a whole thing. If I had just dispatched them like a proper farmer would, I wouldn't have this problem. Now I have a whole thing. So never make friends with mice. Also on the pest thing, if you have suddenly a whole, I don't know what they're called, colony, a whole host of ants that are all over the floor, the walls, whatever, in some outbuilding, don't rush to get rid of them because you have something dead in there, probably a dead mouse or rat or something, and they are handling it. And you would rather that than have to handle it yourself. So if you move that dead thing, you go to try to like throw it in the bush or whatever, those ants are just going to follow to wherever you moved it to. You'll see the trail move. So we have these ants, these tiny little black ants, and they will be moving here and there. We'll see their track along our driveway, or one day they'll be up on the wall of something. And that's how we know that we've caught something. So we used to be like, how are we going to get rid of these ants? Then we just realized, oh, everybody has a job to do, and we just need to stay out of their way because that is the job that they are doing. And quite frankly, I would prefer that. Hey, boys. So those sort of match each other, don't they? Part of our collapse skills, anybody who's done any of my collapse courses knows that dying well, not only accepting that everything dies, but dying well with dignity, with some kind of acknowledgement and ritual is a big part of collapse. And so having a relationship with both death and sometimes having to be the hand of death is an important part of taking our place in the cycle of life, right? But even when we have to be the dispatcher, I think it behooves us to do it in a gentle, a calm, an accepting, a dignified way. So being as calm as we can, being as sure and certain and confident so that things happen well. Nobody should suffer in the end, right? So speaking of that, our dog Mona is putting us in a bit of a position. That's the euphemism I'm using lately for when an animal is sick and you're at the vet and they're like, so that's a $6,700 surgery, and it's $700 to do imaging just to see if you need the surgery, and this visit today is $1,300, and what do you know, just 3 months ago it was about $2,000. That animal's putting you in a situation. So Mona is 13. Oh, I can't even talk about her. But anyway, our dog Mona is putting us in a situation, and she's in a lot of pain. She's on 4 different types of pain medications. 2 of them are, like, one of them's ketamine. It's hardcore, it's heavy duty. So it's every pain pathway, and she's not eating easily. We basically have to feed her canned salmon from home fish salmon. And even then it's kind of forcing it down her. So my good friend Jen Mora, who was a vet tech, gave an excellent guideline for us that I really appreciated, which is you think about your pets or your animals, 5 favorite things. And if they can do 3 of them, then that is a good quality of life. And you should try to do what you can. Of course, I don't have any guideline for how much money you're going to spend, because that totally depends on everybody. But just whether or not you should consider euthanasia is sort of like, well, if you had all the money in the world and they had 3 of their 5 favorite things, then that's good enough quality of life, perhaps. But if they only have 2, they only have access to 2, then you have to think about that. I also think you have to put the pet owner in there. Right now, Mona has to be basically force-fed pain medication every 8 hours, which is not the worst, right? It's not that bad, but if she doesn't eat... Anyway, I don't want to get into all that, but I thought that 3 aspects of things that they love or are their favorite is what we could consider quality of life. And I really appreciate Jan Mora, who teaches collapse-aware parenting and caregiving in the Numinous Network, by the way, first Saturday of every month, 10 Pacific. It's not recorded, but you can attend and be camera on or off. If you have a sensitive nervous system, it's perfect for you. Jen is a mixed race, neurodivergent, disabled, very collapse-aware teacher, and I highly recommend if you want more sort of like, here's how we're going to move through collapse times. She's excellent. There's also like a whole bunch of stuff that we have been thinking about, or like we have developed or we use a lot on the farm to help us just like, again, conserve brain glucose, to not be in a fog, to not be wasting time, ways that we organize ourselves. And I think these would probably be helpful for people who have difficulty because of maybe neurological differences or just having really overwhelming circumstances. These are things that, if they work for you, they can be really helpful to help you, talk yourself through making life easier for future you. So what I mean by that is like, don't put it down, put it away. That's one of the guidelines. Don't put it down, put it away. And it doesn't necessarily seem like earth-shattering wisdom, but when you live by it, oh my gosh, that is life-changing shit, man. Don't put it down, put it away. One of the challenges, if you're like in the collapse world for any length of time, is this like hoarding, stockpiling issue, having enough and having what you need, but also not becoming a hoarder, and also not wasting money, because anything you have in storage is just money, right? That's money in storage that you spent on that. So the guidelines we use might sound contradictory. So you have to, again, all of this is just what works for us. Take what works, leave the rest. But something that I have found helpful when you're thinking about, should we stockpile that, is if you can buy it in 30 minutes or for $30, don't stockpile that, because that's easy to get. You want to stockpile the things that are more difficult, right? So I might reduce that these days because, I don't know, in this economy, maybe it's 20 minutes and $20. But another thing is, there are things that you want to stockpile, some basic things that you want to have. And this also comes from Jen. I think this is like a pretty common one in the preppers communities. If you only have one, then you have none. That's because as soon as you use that backup, or as soon as you use that one, you're insecure again. Similarly, if you can't find it in 10 minutes, you don't have one. A lot of the frustration of living in collapse times and dealing with problems is wasted time and energy. There's a lot of things you can replicate, but you can't replicate time and energy. So, I can make more money. I can go get different parts. I can, create a different filing system or organize or whatever, but I can't fabricate or earn more time or more energy. So this is why, organizing yourself, organizing your life is going to save you that precious commodity in collapse. So if you can't find something in 10 minutes, you don't actually have one. You need to know where it goes, and you don't put it down, you put it away. And then the last thing I'm going to share today is more of a behavioral thing. We live intergenerationally on this farm. We're very neurodiverse. There's a significant amount of untended trauma kind of in the background. So the thing I often have to do when I start to ruminate and I'm arguing with people in my mind for hours and hours is stop trying to figure out why they did it. Just figure out what you're going to do. The extended version of that is figure out how you feel, how you're being impacted, and what you're going to do. Because trying to figure out their behavior, you're never going to figure it out. Hey, good boys. Back up, Skaha. Good boy, Bo. There you go. Again, you cannot earn more time and earn more energy, and you're going to burn so much time and energy trying to figure out and then they said this and they did that, and it's so frustrating because it's yeah, okay, it's frustrating. How is that impacting you? Well, I'll tell you what, that kind of stuff really impacts my health, especially with my autoimmune condition. And your health is your wealth. Your health is your wealth. And so what are you going to do to preserve your wealth, preserve your health? And so there are, that's very site specific, but that's my advice also for couples, people who are is this trauma, or is this patriarchy, or is this neurodivergence, or is this coercive, it kind of doesn't matter. How are you being impacted? How do you feel about that? And therefore, how then shall you perceive? How then will you live? What is good enough for you? What are the standards? How can you reallocate your time and energy resources from this energy sink into preserving your wealth, your health, your well-being? All right, that's my dispatch for today. The other stuff that's on my mind is I have a book, How to Connect, Build Strong Bonds and Deep Connections Through Contact Nutrition. Then the kind of little sub in parentheses, it says, no matter your attachment style, trauma history, or neurotype. The pre-orders are so important for, so many different reasons. And, in traditional publishing with big publishers, authors will say it's so important because that's how my publisher knows how much to invest in me. They need to have feedback from the market. Well, we're a co-op, and it's not like that for us. We're giving everything we can to make this work. And, we tried selling memberships. Basically, I threw my credit card down because it's we are going to make mine and other people's dreams come true. And we are laboring on behalf of that. And yes, the books are going to be out in bookstores. We're going to do a whole bookstore promotion campaign sell-in in the fall. But right now, pre-orders are important because then we get to retain all of the revenue. Our books sold through bookstores are sold at a 45% discount. That's a significant discount, right? If we get to keep that 45%, we get to keep some for ourselves, and our authors get to have an absolutely industry-leading royalty cut, which is 40%. Usually it's 10%, 12%, maybe 15%. So they will make more money as well. If we ever make any money, we have to break even first. And so we're not there yet. And if you go to ninthhousepress.com, you'll see the whole catalog. And the way to get it with free shipping and 15% discount and a very cute, high quality little tote is to order the Power Reader bundle, where you'll get all of the books, and they all will drop on November 4th, 2026. So your pre-order is like absolutely life force for us. And if you don't like, I totally wouldn't judge you if you just read all the books when you got them and then gifted the ones that just aren't to your taste and keep the ones that you love. So it'll be there just in time for holidays. And that would be absolutely amazing. All of the authors are people of, they're equity denied people. So these are the voices that we would like more of, and books that are kind of like risky and we're not like watering them down, right? So they're unusual books and fabulous books. And there's, I hope they all become bestsellers in their region. But the only way that happens is through word of mouth. So go to ninthhousepress.com. And, if you want to hang out with me and folks who are muddling through, burnt out and broke, and trying to be together in a trauma-informed and attachment-oriented and somatically grounded way, join us in the Numinous Network. It's $50 and it is a bridge between your therapy appointments. It doesn't replace therapy, but if you can't afford therapy, this is a therapeutic environment with a lot of really qualified guides. And we have some live sessions like pretty much every day. And there's also on-demand courses, but also just a practice portal with on-demand videos, very short videos, like 2 to 5 minutes. Well, one of them is a whole 45-minute practice video, and also audio and stuff like that. So come join us, especially, this summer. It's a super El Nino summer, right? It's going to be hard out there. So we're going to be supporting each other through collabs, and that's how we do it, right? It's through community, it's through ritual, it's through death literacy, it's through somatic literacy and ability, it's through trauma sensitivity, it's all of those things. They all come together in the Numinous Network. So hope to see you there. Take care.